Legislator Bumper, could you hear us okay?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thanks.
Awesome. All right, welcome everyone to the March 12th, 2026 Monroe County Planning Board meeting. Got, let's see, how many, just the minutes for a forum. Great. I'll call roll. Bill Santos. Hello. Mike Wiedemer. Here. Dave Watson. Here. Tyrese Bryant. Here. With McDade.
Here.
Milton Pichardo.
Here.
Victor Sanchez. Robert Colby. Okay. Rachel Barnhart.
Yes, here.
Hi. Amy Grower. Connor McMahon.
Here.
Adrian Green. Jennifer Cesario. Joe Taddeo.
Here.
Richard Tantalo.
Here.
Christina Doherty. Sean Murphy.
Here.
And Andy Frazier. Andy?
Here.
Oh, there you are. Great, thank you. And we have a lot of people here today, so why don't we just go around the horn here and just, if you're staff, announce yourself, and we'll just keep right on going through. Go ahead, Yushan.
Someone June, I am Nisha with the planning board.
Thomas Pollock, I'm the Deputy Director of Monroe County DOT.
Tom Price, Director, Monroe County DOT.
Bridget from the law department.
Package, Planning Department.
Row here. Yeah.
John Clark from the Crime Lab.
Thank you.
Planning director.
Diana.
And Florida Information Services.
That-
Darren Bowe from MCH.
Yep.
Custodial on CC.
Front row.
Fred Roth, MCP.
And Andrew, we got you, so.
Mike Ballard from the Sheriff's Office. Chris Fish, Public Safety, Emergency Communications. Which one for Public Safety?
I think we got oh, Grace.
Sherburne of Monroe County Planning.
And
And-
that's,
Also have some representative join us online too. Parks, you wanna get started?
Thanks, Yushan. Bob Kiley here, County Parks.
Ashley Long.
Pat Meredith. Tom Morrissey. Thanks, everybody.
Rebecca?
Hi, Rebecca
Oh.
Hartman. Sorry, blurry. Rebecca Hartman from the Medical Examiner's Office.
Maybe?
Hi, everyone. I'm Katie Hasselwander from the Monroe County Library System.
great. I think that's everyone, right? Thank you all for coming. First item on the agenda is announcements and communications. And I noticed that there was a note about the operating budget sheet. You have that?
Yes, so we have some print copies and I'm gonna pass it around. And also just want to remind you that this will be added to the final recommended CIP to the county executive. And also the departments also have received the digital copies of this also.
Yeah. So, just can you briefly run through this for a second? while we-
Yeah, I can do so, Chairman Sanchez.
Okay, great.
So this is normally included in the CIP booklet you normally get. You may have noticed that the booklet was a little bit lighter this year. It's because it was missing all these tables.
Okay.
There is a checkbox I failed to check when I was getting everything together. And so these normally show up below each project, which allow you to know the operating impact to the budget that finance prepares in preparation for your review. So these are supplementary, will be added to the book before it goes to the county legislature after you review and potentially recommend.
Gotcha. So this is strictly the 2027 portion, or is that the whole,
It is the whole book.
the whole
So
thing?
all
Okay,
projects that fall between the years of 2027 and 2032.
okay. Awesome. Thank you.
Apologies for that mistake.
No, no worries. All right. Any questions on that packet? I'm sure that, if you do, you can email them. But any questions right now, offhand? Hearing none, we'll move on to the next item, which is opening the public hearing. And I need a motion to open the public hearing on the proposed 2027 through 2032 capital improvement program.
So moved.
Thank you, David. Is there a second for that?
Second.
Michael, thank you. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
All right.
Are there any opposed? Any abstentions? Great. The public hearing is now officially open, and Patrick, I'd like to turn it over to you.
Thank you very much for having me. So Pat Gooch, Monroe County Planning Department, as we are required to do as a part of the county's capital improvement program, we are required to have a public hearing for both the board and the public. We will be soliciting comments virtually through email from now until March 18th. Let's get started though. So the proposed 2027-2032 CIP program is underway and moving to the county's planning board. Isha, next slide, please. So as most of you already know, but for those who may view online, the county's capital improvement program proposed can be found online on the county's website under monroecounty.gov/planning-CIP. That big red arrow will show you a button you can click on to download. Last year's is just below that. And then a historical record of all the CIPs, at least from about 2013 or so, give or take, are on there as well. Next slide, Isha. Oh, wrong way. There we go. So what is a capital improvement program? So it is a 6-year program that is a planning project to help us identify what we need to address in Monroe County. It guides the county's investments in its physical assets. This includes, but is not limited to, county buildings, transportation facilities, things like roads and airports, equipment, vehicles, radios, communication systems, information services systems, etc. Sewer and waste reduction infrastructure, the sewers and the recycling plant that we operate, and the county park system and its facilities therein, and a bit more. The capital budget is the first year of the 6-year program. It is called the capital budget year. That is the year that is actually funded and added to the county's actual spending when it is adopted in December. The years from 2028 to 2032 are just on paper at this point. They are a plan for spending. They're not authorized until the next CIP program. Just keep that in mind when you're looking at the numbers, that is the best laid plans of the county. And we hope to fulfill them, and every year we refine and identify those as we move forward. Little note at the end there, as we mentioned, this board is responsible for identifying a priority order for the capital budget year. In the event that there is not sufficient funding to move forward, this board is responsible for doing so, and one of the reasons why we have so many meetings together. Okay, next slide, Isha. What is a capital project? So under section C4-10C of the Monroe County Charter, it is any public betterment or improvement for which a period of probable usefulness may be authorized pursuant to section 11 of the local finance law of the state of New York, or any studies or surveys relative thereto, or the acquisition of land or rights in land, or any furnishings, machinery, apparatus, or equipment for any such betterment or improvement when such betterment or improvement is first constructed or acquired, any combination of above. These are paid through non-debt sources such as operating budget, grants, or intergovernmental aid, and long-term debt that we authorize. Non-debt sources are included to facilitate coordination with the department sources, and because it presents a total package of information for county decision makers as they move forward. Next slide, Ishan. As with many laws, they are often broad and need to be refined a little bit. And so the county's administrative standards do that for us. And so what that means is we provide specific guidance to the departments on what a capital project is with a little more detail. So the cost of any bonded capital project should exceed $100,000 and have a useful life of at least 5 years. The cost of any cash capital project should be $250,000 or less and should have a useful life of less than 5 years. Equipment and motor vehicles other than passenger vehicles may be bonded for if the product meets the cost and useful life criteria. Normal annual maintenance expenses, such as landscape maintenance, are not capital expenses, but non-reoccurring repairs, such as a large roof repair or maybe even replacement, would be considered a capital project. And then Monroe County must have ownership or long-term interest for a term at least interest similar to the financing. In other words, we must own it or have a lease on it for long enough to actually pay back the debt. There are different types of funding in the capital improvement. These are county, district, enterprise, and then state aid, and then private. Within each of those, there's a breakdown of county debt and then county cash. We have here, you'll see up at the top, county revenues, county cash. Those acronyms on the side, C and CC, stand for county revenues, then county cash. This is your property and sales tax, and then which is financed via the operating budget and bonds that we allocate. District project revenues, so districts like Pure Waters collect revenue for the services they provide. Enterprise are essentially profit-making or fee-driven enterprises, aviation, solid waste, and the Monroe Community Hospital. And then, of course, state grants come in for various projects, DOT, aviation, Monroe Community College, and many other departments as grants become available. And then lastly, private. We don't have any private funding in this year's CIP, but it is something that comes into play when a local government may be partnering with us on a particular capital project, or maybe a private entity is financing, usually often road betterment projects. So DOT often will receive additional funds either from a local municipality or from a private developer. Recently, Henrietta had some road work done that was paid for by both the town and a local developer who was working on a project there. And then, yes, here we go. So this is where the slides get fun. There's a lot of details in these slides that I want to bring to your attention. The blue bars are the adopted CIP. Red bars are proposed department submissions. Striped bars are 6-year program totals that correspond with that blue and red that I previously mentioned. Proposed funding is shown compared to the current adopted CIP. Red numbers are funding that decreased. Green numbers, funding increased. Red arrows mean funding schedule changes, horizontal going forward or backwards. And then italicized projects. Next slide, please. So the county's 2027-2032 CIP, this is a chart of the adopted CIP versus what is being proposed. We have a current decrease of about 7% or just under $40 million, which drops the total from $562 million to $522 million. Once again, that number is largely theoretical as the first 2 years are the main focus of the CIP. Next slide, Ishan. Federal funds. So as I mentioned, we receive federal funds. We expect an increase of federal funds of about $10 million. I'll get to it when we get to DOT, but it's largely related to some projects they're working on. Next slide, Ishan. State funds, we anticipate a decrease of state funds of about $4 million. One thing to note about both the federal and state funds, there is a lot of variables that will change these as we move forward in the years, and this will be revised each year accordingly. Projects come and go based on when they are approved by both of those entities. And the state and the federal government have different timelines in terms of identifying when those grants will be made available to us. Next slide. So this is a tree map showing the distribution of total funds. Color coding is purposeful, but also separated, and that is done to show you the county portion, the district portion, and the federal, and then the enterprise portion. So the blue on the left-hand side is county funding. The red in the top right-hand is district. The purple is federal and state grants, and then the enterprise is the green on the right. This is essentially a proportion of a whole, so this would be 100%. You can see that on the left-hand side, or just below that, county is about 49%. Pure Waters, the district, is 30%. Thank you, Ishan. Aids and grants is 16%, and then enterprise is about 6%. Next slide, please. So this is the CIP over the past, I believe, 5 years. And so you can see it fluctuates. That is based on both the funds available and the need for projects to be authorized. So over the course of the last 5 years, the CIP has fluctuated between just under $500 million to nearly $600 million. Next slide, please. So this is looking at the same information in a slightly different way that is aggregated. And so what we've done here and what we try to do is show you really by the county function. So the county has many functions, but some of them can be aggregated because they're similar. Transportation, which includes highway and bridges, traffic engineering, and aviation, represents about 30% of the CIP. Parks, county parks and Seneca Park Zoo is 2.5% of the CIP. Waste and recovery infrastructure through the county's Department of Environmental Services, Pure Waters, and Solid Waste is 32.2% of the CIP. Public safety, up at the top right, includes the medical examiner's office, the sheriff's office, public safety. That's 13.1% of the total CIP. Public-facing services such as the Board of Elections, Monroe Community College, Monroe Community Hospital, Monroe County Library Services represents about 10.1%. And then county government assets, so essentially buildings that the Department of Environmental Services manages through facilities management, and also the communications network that the Department of Information Services manages represents 12.1%. One thing you'll note there, entities that have more physical assets generally take up a larger portion of the CIP, which is a logical conclusion, simply because they have more to work on, more to repair, more to invest in. Next slide, please. All right, now we're going to drill down into the specific departments moving forward. So this is another a tree map that shows you by department the share of the CIP. So once again, proportion of the whole, these different colors represent a percentage. I apologize, I know it's hard to see. I will read off some numbers for you. But the maroon or red on the left-hand side is Pure Waters. That represents about 30.7% of the 6-year program. So once again, this is the theoretical. If we spend the money from this exact 6-year program, this is what it would look like. The next largest is the highway and bridges at 92 million or 17.7%. Below that is aviation at about $50 million, which is 9.6%. Jumping back up to the top green, the first one that Ishan is drawing your attention to is public safety at about 44 million, which represents about 8.5% of the CIP. Jumping down to jumping over, I should say, to the darker green is engineering and facilities management at 8.3% or $43 million. Then we're jumping to the purple, thank you, Monroe Community College at 7.0% or 36 million roughly. Just below that is the sheriff's office at 22 million, which is 4.3%. Jumping next to information services, which is the blue, pink, or maybe salmon for some of us. Information services at 3.8%. DOT traffic engineering is just to the right of that, which is 14.2 million, which represents 2.7%. Monroe Community Hospital is the rectangle that is blue there. That is 2.7% or $14 million. Just to the right of that is Parks at 2.1% or $11 million. And then the purple just to the right of that is Solid Waste with 1.5% or about $8 million. And then we have in the very tiniest margins, the zoo, the library system, the medical examiner's office, and the Board of Elections that respectively are 0.38%, 0.32%, 0.20%, and 0.02%. I know that's a lot, but that really is just a good way to understand how the larger departments generally take up a larger part of the CIP. Next slide, please. So this is looking at it by the budget year, which is coming up in 2027. This is what we would potentially authorize for funding. The budget year is about $115 million as currently laid out. This shows you each department's grand total, and it shows you the shares of the overall funding structure. For some of them, it's quite hard to make out because they're quite small, but for others, you can see that there are larger proportions. Right in the middle there that Ishan is pointing to represents Pure Waters. That is both district cash at the top and then district funding below it. And so those colors on the far left correspond with the various funding structures. You can see that for some departments, it's primarily composed of county funding. Clearly, Pure Waters is primarily district funding, and then others have significant revenue from the federal and state. Specifically, aviation is essentially a 95-5 structure where 90% of it is coming from outside Monroe County. Next slide, please. All right, so first slide of the departments, Board of Elections. We have a $1.9 million decrease from the prior year. Specifically, that's because a $2 million project is falling off in 2026 and is being replaced by a $100,000 project in 2027. That is related to the election inspector improvements. And that is a new project for this year that was added and is a follow-up on that $2 million project. Next slide, please. Information services. They have a $1.29 million increase from the prior 6-year cycle. They have no new projects in this year's CIP. Next slide, please. Health Department or Medical Examiner's Office has a $135,000 decrease from the prior 6-year cycle. They have no new projects in the CIP. Monroe Community College has a $12.24 million decrease from the prior cycle. They currently have no new projects in the CIP. Next slide, please. Monroe County Library Service or System, $60,000 increase from 2026-2031. No new projects. DES Engineering and Facilities, they have a $22.6 million decrease from the prior 6-year program, and they have no new projects as well. Monroe County Parks Department has a $675,000 decrease in the 6-year cycle. They have Seneca Park Zoo has a $500,000 decrease over the 6-year program. No new projects in that program as well. DOT Highway and Bridges, they do have a $15.3 million increase from the prior 6-year cycle. A large portion of that is federal funding and state funding, about $11 million of that related to road projects that are being advanced. They do have 4 new projects in various years of the CIP for bridge and highway maintenance. Next slide, please. Monroe County Traffic Engineering, which oversees the signals at most of the roads that you travel in Monroe County. They have a $920,000 decrease from the 6-year cycle with no new projects. Next slide, please. Public Safety. They have a $1.35 million decrease from their adopted CIP. They have 4 new projects floating throughout the years, but mostly in the out years. Monroe County Sheriff's Office has a decrease of about $400,000 from the 6-year program. They also have no new projects in the CIP. We are now moving into the district and then the enterprise funded programs. Total district funds represents all of Pure Water's work. They have a $7.5 million decrease from 2026 to 2031. They have 6 new projects. They are all in the 2032 out year. Next slide, please. Enterprise fund. So this first slide is an aggregation of the enterprise funds for Monroe Community Hospital, aviation, and solid waste. There is a $9.846 million decrease from 2026 to 2031. We'll get to one specific department that primarily makes up that. Next slide, please. Monroe Community Hospital has a $500,000 decrease from 2026 to 2031. They have 1 new project related to some light duty equipment that they need to purchase in the upcoming program. The next slide, please, is the Frederick Douglass Greater Rochester International Airport. This is a $2.15 million increase from 2026 to 2031. No new projects in their program as well. And DES Solid Waste, they have a $9.8 million decrease from 2026 to 2031 program. And this is largely the decrease in the overall enterprise funding is the result of the bar on the far left, which in blue is the Gloria Drive landfill project was authorized in 2026, and so it's not in the 2027 to 2032 CIP. With that, we also have the last departmental slide, Monroe County Water Authority is included in here for informational purposes only. According to New York State Public Authorities Law, Section 1096, 16-B8, we are required to include this in the CIP if the water authority is borrowing. However, as an independent public authority, the funding amounts are not included in the county's CIP program totals. And so whenever you see aggregation, these numbers do not show up there. And last slide, please. With that, if there are any questions, we are happy to take them, both now in person via this call. We do have departmental representatives with us at this meeting to answer departmental specific questions if myself or finance cannot. And then also we can accept comments online via an email to our senior planner, Ishan Lin, who will aggregate them and make sure that they get addressed by the departments or by the county as needed. We'll remind you about the deadline again, but that deadline is March 18th, 2026. So that way we can pull those comments together in time for your next meeting, which is March 19th. With that, I'll be happy to take questions.
Any questions for Patrick? Any board members? I had a couple, and I think I started to mention them last week. So I had a question on the master plan, which you indicated was brand new last December. So the impacts of that, and I also had a question, just my annual question of how the county is comparing to other counties financially, both from the capital project plan and what percentage versus per capita and all that. So how are we doing versus other counties? Are we in the middle, average? And maybe we don't know the answer right now, and we can talk next week. And
yeah, so we can do that, but I can remind everyone that Monroe County is a large urbanized county.
Yeah.
In New York State. So we, as many of us like to think of it as a 20-minute community that's quite small, we're actually quite big.
Yeah.
And if you look at the entire US, we are in the top 1,000 counties in terms of size. So we are a relatively advanced capital improvement program. We have significant funding. I have previously worked in another county, and their capital improvement program was strictly funded through the interest they earned off of their essentially general fund. So that did not allow for a lot of capital improvements.
Yeah.
And so they prioritized in a very serious way because there was a good chance that things weren't going to get completed that needed to be completed. But in terms of per capita or relation to other counties, I don't have answers, but we can try to get those for you next week.
Yeah, and I understand, we have a lot of environmental weather and all sorts of deterioration of roads and things like that. So I get that. So it'd be kind of probably a Northeast comparison to, likely sized counties. So, I was just wondering offhand if we're underspending or overspending, or, I just want to like to hear that.
I think that really depends on who you ask.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean,
No, I understand your point. I will pull together some information and share with the board for next week.
Yeah. Good. And then just if there's any effects of that new master plan.
Yeah, so I
for
know
MCC.
we do have representatives from MCC here, but I believe they're giving their presentation next week. Correct me if I'm wrong, Gwen and Tony.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so next week they do plan to give you a more thorough presentation of what that new update to the current master plan looks like and how that may impact the CIP moving forward.
Great. Yeah, I appreciate it.
And just a reminder that MCC's funding structure with the county is any capital improvement is 50% paid for by the county, 50% paid for by MCC, unless there are outside funds that either one of us can find for those, but that doesn't happen often.
And some of those MCC funds are state. You
Yes.
get state money. Yeah. Good. Any other questions?
I had some questions about the
Yeah.
Department of Environmental Services projects.
Elizabeth.
And some of them, they talk about them being a green project. And I just wondered what that means and why some are and some aren't, and just sort of what kind of considerations go into that.
Does that refer to green bonding?
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's like a number of projects throughout that, but there's 1, 2, 3, 4 that are specifically mentioning green projects,
Right.
if possible.
So there's two things. First of all, from the facilities end of things, there's a green building policy It's in place now that any renovations that occur that are over 5,000 square feet have to go through a green building policy evaluation, which initially was based on LEED, which is kind of, in our minds, kind of archaic. We're changing our structure a little bit, but the goal is to try to decrease any environmental impacts, if you will. As far as Pure Waters and some of the other capital funds, we do look to see if there are any green infrastructure grants that are available. We always look for grants. We're always out there looking for grants, but similar to DOT, basically, if we have to build something, we have to build it. The grant, having a grant does not dictate whether we build it or not, because we need to do it anyway. But we'll always look to get revenue in as much as we can. And the green bonding, I think it kind of comes and goes. It's a cyclical thing, right? Depends on how.
So, but any
Later.
project is sort of looked through that
Oh, it was
lens,
different funds,
right?
yes.
And if, but the idea of greening and all of that, it's always looked through that lens, and if it's possible, you will, and if it's,
Right, yeah.
thank you.
Okay.
Anyone else?
Probably just two,
Go ahead, Mike.
two quick
Yeah.
questions. At one, just a process question. So you had mentioned, so when I think back about 2025, in 2025, we recommended a CIP for 26 through 31. The legislature adopted it. And then it, in December, approved the 2026 budget. And the first of the 6 years of the CIP, I think you referred to it as the capital budget for the year ahead. Do you have any historical context on like what percentage of the capital budget gets used versus canceled or not used?
That would be a question for finance, but I mean, I'll let them speak, but I have a.
Well, we amend the capital budget before the actual budget is adopted. And we increase and decrease. So I have those numbers every year. I don't have it readily available. But
Yeah.
For each year, there's increases and decreases before the actual budget is adopted.
The budget gets adopted in December, and then I'm just wondering, so the budget that was adopted in December,
It can be slightly different than this actual.
the actuals that happen in 2026 aren't going to be exactly to the penny of what was budgeted. But when it comes to capital investments, like what's the deviation? A couple percentage points or?
Are you talking about actual, what we spend out of what's been approved? Because a lot of these, it's more than 1 year, like these things go on. It's not just 1 year. I mean, we could get you what we spent last year in fund, out of what was approved. But a lot of those projects are ongoing and continue into. For multiple
They're hitting
years.
multiple years. What was approved was the investment for the next 12 months. Right? Is
No,
it-
well,
No.
So the entire project is authorized to be spent, money is spent as needed, and so it hits that specific year. I think to your specific question, these projects are, the departments believe that they're necessary for their operations. So more often than not, they are completed. There are some that aren't for a variety of reasons, or maybe they're scaled back for a variety of reasons, but more often than not, we are spending that full amount.
Yeah. And that was my presupposition that
Yeah.
12 months out, right? We're probably
Yeah.
Sean's already working on it. So, you know, it's happening.
Right.
Um,
It'll take a while to spend the money, but the money that's allocated for 26 gets spent, because as we've had discussions about inflation and escalations and all that, generally speaking, if we get $10 million for a project, we're spending $10 million.
Yeah.
We're not going to spend 5 million. But on the cash capital side, that's money that keeps kind of going into the pot and it gets carried forward. So the cash capital part of it doesn't necessarily get spent in the initial year, it keeps getting rolled forward and forward for projects. But at some point, it does get all spent.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay. And then the question about the CIP was just, you know, I oftentimes just go to the Department of Transportation, and I think you had noted that they had a significant increase last year's CIP versus this year's CIP, a $15 million increase. Now, more than 2/3 of it was state and federal funding. And I think the aggregate for the DOT is usually 90% county. Is that accurate?
Tom?
Well, the increases were due to 3 federal active federal jobs that were not part of the original estimate. But we're only paying 5% of those.
And that system, TIP, is off system from when we have to submit this budget. That's why it's a jump.
And Highway PM 13, remind me again what that is in substance? That's the project, that's the big one, right? That's the big one.
Highway
And
preventive maintenance, but Tom, go ahead. with
Yes,
the-
3 separate roads. It's gonna be doing Dewey Avenue, Ridgeway Avenue, and Mount Reed. And we're gonna be doing some PM, improving the drainage, edge treatments, shoulders, pavement markings.
The typical maintenance that needs to happen on roads, I can't remember if you need to do a true regrade or if it's more just a mill and pave and striping.
Pretty much just mill and pavement striping. What we do is we submit a lot of our roads, the highlights, basically, we'll submit like 30 or 40 roads that are in deteriorating condition. And then when we work our way through the TIP and everyone says all the projects that they have and how much money is going where, then we're like, okay, we have so much money left in the TIP. How much of it do you want, Tom? I'll be like, well, I'll take whatever I can, plug in whatever roads I can with that available money.
Mhm.
And just for those who don't speak transportation engineer, the TIP is the transportation improvement program that Tom facilitates with the Genesee Transportation Council, where federal dollars flow down to the local region. So that's how those federal funds get programmed into their department in the CIP.
And it's pretty common that we would get federal funding for preventative maintenance.
Yes, it's more, it's better to keep the roads that you have in good shape rather than let them deteriorate and have to reconstruct them because they cost way more. So yeah, this is a better way to go.
So that's a whole nother essentially capital improvement program that is funded at the regional level or planned at the regional level that county DOT and other entities participate in. That is, as Tom mentioned, off cycle, which is why sometimes things drop in and get moved up and funding increases dramatically or decreases dramatically, depending on what's going on.
Was there an uptick in federal grant money past 12 months?
Kudos to DOT then.
I'll add another one. I really appreciated seeing all of the bicycle space considerations. All
Yes.
the bike lanes. I mean, I was like, wow,
Yeah.
great. So,
We try.
Yeah.
Bike lanes really come down to one, if we have the room, 2, we need town concurrence for them because the towns have to pass parking ordinances saying no standing. And if so, we'll put the signs in, but the towns have to maintain the signs. We struggle getting them in, but we always offer, we always try.
Many towns do or don't have those ordinances,
Well,
Right
it's
now.
a road specific
road specific.
question that we
Okay,
asked.
Sure.
Some are more proactive about wanting them than others.
Okay.
Like Brighton, I think Brighton would always love them. The outliers, probably not.
Mike, anything else? Elizabeth?
I actually had another question about the airspace protection program,
Yeah. go ahead.
where it said that there's looking at identified specific obstructions that need to be addressed in the airspace. Is that meaning that structures are coming down?
So there is a federal, and I believe we have someone from the airport here, but if not, I can start. Federal aviation requirements require all airports to make sure that there are not obstructions from the runway and landing takeoff areas. That means both trees and anything else that may be in the way or could reflect into that area. So there are funds that are allocated to potentially purchase properties that may have issues on them, but also to purchase easements for the air rights above properties. So that way they cannot construct something so tall that it would be an obstruction, or to potentially do some tree removal or topping in certain areas. So that way there aren't obstructions within the landing takeoff area, which is much wider than we anticipate based from the ground.
I'm familiar with that region and I was like, what are they gonna be taking? I was just like, what is coming down?
It is required of every airport in the country. And so they are always proactively taking a look at what they need to monitor. Trees grow. And so a tree that was not a problem 5-10 years ago can be a problem this year.
Victor, very good. Iris? David? Any, are there any members from the public here that have questions? Online?
I'm all set. Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you, Rachel. All right. Mr. Nelms, you okay? Any questions? Okay, great. Appreciate it. All right, with that, then I would like a motion to close the public hearing, but hold the record open for public comments and questions until March 18th. You can email them or call them in, actually, right? Call the office. Motion to close the public hearing. Thank you, Elizabeth. Is there a second? Tyrese, okay. Thank you. Any more discussion? Hearing none. All in favor of closing the public hearing signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Or any opposed? Any abstentions? Great, thank you. All right. And just a reminder, submit those questions and comments by March 18th. Next item on the agenda is approval of the March 5th meeting minutes. They were emailed to you, and I need a motion for those, please. Thank you, Sean. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion on those? Comments? Hearing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Great, minutes are approved. I should have mentioned thanking everyone for coming out. Next item is
Read the minutes.
there you go. Yeah, there you go. Next item is presentation by the Monroe County Department of Transportation. Director Fry as well.
All right, great. Thank you for the opportunity to present and basically brag about everything that we do. I'd like to set the stage, I think, by first explaining kind of what it is we do, and then I kind of dig into the CIP a little bit and open up the questions. So we're responsible for the safe and efficient operation and maintenance of 1,488 miles, 192 bridges, 60 of which are co-maintained with the Thruway Authority, New York State, CSX, or Kodak. We have 344 major culverts, 140 retaining walls, 830 different traffic signal and flasher devices. 630 of those are the 3-color signals. There's 200 flasher devices. We have rectangular rapid flashing beacons, and we have 130 traffic modeling cameras out there. We also have about 85,000 signs. We're broken down into 5 separate divisions. We have our major maintenance and traffic engineering section. They're responsible for the planning, design, management, and construction of our major maintenance work on all of our road, bridge, and culvert infrastructure. This concludes work that's performed by the towns and by contractor forces through our CHIPS program. Now, we receive about $11 million in CHIPS every year. That's from state funds. DOT also enters into an intermunicipal agreement with all of the towns for snow and ice control on all of our roads. We perform traffic studies where we ensure the appropriate traffic control devices are in place on county roads and on city streets. And as part of this, we proactively monitor accident rates on city streets and county roads as part of our priority investigation location program. We also act as the city's traffic engineer. We review and advise on complaints, requests, traffic studies on city projects. That's the one division. Our other division, the Transportation Engineering and Permits Division, programs, administers, designs, engineers, and we provide construction supervision of our capital highway, bridge, and culvert improvement projects. Those projects you see here in the CIP. We oversee the quadrennial inspections of bridges, culverts, and retaining walls. We manage guide rail design, installation, and inspection of guide rail installed on county roads. We oversee the operation and the maintenance of the Irondequoit Bay Outlet Bridge. That's the swing bridge up on Culver. We perform plan and traffic impact report reviews and approvals for developments on all county roads and on city streets. We issue permits for any work performed within county right-of-way and the associated field inspections that go with it to make sure that what they say is being built is being built. And we also issue permits for parades, boxcar derby, and any other associated races. We're responsible for the county's sidewalk funds, where any town can install sidewalks on a county road and Monroe County will pay for half. So we monitor that. And we also administer the County in Bloom and the Adopt a Highway programs. Our Transportation Operations Division investigates and responds to citizen complaints and requests regarding regulatory, warning, and street name signs on county roads and city streets. We fabricate and install traffic signs on county roads and city streets. Our in-house sign shop also fabricates and installs signs for other county departments, such as airport, county clerk, legislator, parks, sheriffs, as well as for any towns and villages. We install and maintain pavement markings on all county roads and some select town roads. This includes lane delineation, passing zones, stop bars, crosswalks, railroad symbols, as well as the airport runways and the taxiways. Markings need to be reapplied every 1 to 6 years based on volumes, condition of the road, and materials used. Monroe County roads themselves probably equate to about 14 million linear feet striping. The Traffic Engineering and Operations Division is responsible for construction, maintenance, and operation of all traffic signals and flasher devices on county roads and City of Rochester streets. We oversee the computerized traffic signal system that continually monitors traffic signals and traffic control. And we do that at the Regional Traffic Operations Center on Scottsville Road. This signal system monitors traffic flow and utilizes signal timing patterns of various lengths based on traffic conditions and time of day. We also operate and maintain the Colonel Patrick O'Rourke Memorial Drawbridge. Now that's a state-owned bridge, but we do own and we maintain and operate it for them. This division also operates and maintains 4,530 light fixtures along the Rochester Area Expressway system. We operate and maintain 760 light fixtures along some state highways and about 240 light fixtures along some county highways. And we recently just completed a series of projects to replace the high-pressure sodium light fixtures with LED fixtures. Lastly, our Administrative and Planning Division prepares the department's CIP. We solicit, coordinate, and manage federal, state, and county funding. We act as the county's representative on the Genesee Transportation Board, the TIP Development Committee that we mentioned earlier, and the Planning Committee. And we're also responsible for preparing the department's legislative referrals, manage the department's HR and civil service matters. We do have a complete streets policy, and that was recently revised in July of 23, and that promotes a comprehensive, integrated, and connected multimodal transportation network in Monroe County through planning, design, construction, maintenance of our county roads. Some of the things we do with this is we participate in bus patrol with public safety. We currently have 13 separate rest in red locations, which helps slowers traffic down at some high intersection, high accident locations. As I mentioned, we implement video detection through a system called MyoVision. And the MyoVision cameras can actually detect bicycles and help change the signals by recognizing them. We installed the rectangular rapid flashing beacons, and we recently just installed a lit RRFB. So you push the button at night and it actually shines a street light on it as well. We install flashing stop signs. We enter into for signals so pedestrians can walk. We do leading pedestrian intervals. That gives pedestrians an opportunity to get out in the crosswalk before traffic's allowed to move. We do road diets. We have the Monroe County Sidewalk Program. And as I mentioned before, we also reach out on all of our projects to see if there's an chance to implement bike lanes in all of our projects. So we do all that with a staff of about 74 people. And with that, I'd like to dig into the CIP a little bit. So CIP, the cost of all of our construction things have been rising, even after COVID. So what we're seeing a 50% increase in aluminum since last year. And that's a struggle because, as I mentioned, we've got 85,000 signs out there and people are constantly hitting them, hitting light poles, hitting cabinets. Asphalt's gone up 25% due to global events. It was $115 a ton. It's now up to $145 a ton. Concrete's gone up 4%. Stone curbing went up 15%. Milling the asphalt pavement's gone up 24%. Equipment's gone up anywhere from 3 to 8%, and labor's gone up 46%. So it's 46% for labor, just.
46?
426.
426, okay.
So as Yishan had mentioned to me earlier, I guess I'm gonna be coming back here next week asking for some extra money, so now you know why. So getting into the CIP, so as Pat had mentioned earlier, some of our projects we do get state and federal funding, and with those projects, we only have to pay 5%. So the Turk Hill Road Bridge, Vintage Lane Bridge, Highway PMB, Highway PMA, which is the preventive maintenance, and Highway Preventive Maintenance number 13. Those are all federal eligible, so we're only paying 5% on those jobs. I think the total altogether of those is probably 21 million-ish. So we'd be paying roughly 5% of that. And then I would like to note that Lehigh Station Road construction, we did push that up 2029 to better balance funding that we need each year. And the Clover Street construction, we pushed back to 2030 to allow us 2 years of design, and same thing, to allow us to better spread out the funds a little bit. So with that, do you have any specific questions on the CIP or projects? Do you want me to?
We do have some questions. I do have a couple. Anyone want to go first, or? I can jump in. You mentioned the shifting of the two projects, Lehigh versus Clover. Is one in better shape than the other from just a use standpoint? They're both in bad shape.
When they're in bad shape,
Yeah.
a year's not gonna make that big a difference. What we have to be careful of is that we don't invest too much money bringing it up to snuff just to have to rip it all out the following year. That's
Right.
kind of what we have. It's a little game we have to, not a game we have to play. We have to kind of think it out.
Yeah.
How much use can we get out of it before we need to do something serious, but also before we need to invest money in it to keep it alive till we get to it.
We've switching gears. Do we have crosswalk and bike path flashers at all the bike trails and things like that in the county, or is it just where we think we need them?
More where they're needed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
where
they're
it's
not
busy.
just, we don't just carte blanche put them in.
Okay. Yeah.
That's because there's been fatalities or
No.
accidents there, just a determination that.
For the most part, we'll put in crosswalks there. I wouldn't necessarily put it in our either.
Right. So that one is the automatic system where they pick up a pedestrian or a cyclist coming to the road and it automatically flashes. Is that what you're,
Okay, well, okay.
or is that different?
Well, that's one frustration of ours. So we install rectangular rapid flashing beacons where all they have to do is walk up, push the button,
Push a button.
and then they'll flash.
Okay.
Nobody can push a button.
Oh my God.
And we have this problem at MCC, and we have this problem at Robert Quest, and it's very frustrating. So we do initiate some non-intrusive detection is what we call it, where if they walk up, it'll automatically switch.
Okay.
But it comes with a cost, so we don't want to do it.
Yes. Yes.
To go back
How
to your,
much does it cost?
Yeah.
I was gonna go back to your question about how we decide where to put them. So we have engineering policies for marked crosswalks and RFBs based on pedestrian volumes, how many cars go by, things like that. So it's not really subjective. It's really based on.
Yeah. You have a line.
Yeah, there's a lot of criteria. Yep.
Nice. What's the cost difference?
Well, big idea that
What's
you-
the cost difference between the automatic versus the manual?
Off the top of my head, I don't know, but
Because people can't push a button, that's frustrating.
Well, that's on
Well,
them too.
all right.
well, it's also, it's the cost of the installation, it's the time to send somebody out there. We have a lot more work than
Yeah.
than we can. So I
Teach you how to use
yeah,
it.
to be very efficient with it.
I don't have to have any buttons when I'm in my car.
I had a question on railroad crossings. I know that's not you guys, but, and it's like CSX, but, or someone else. But if there's an issue there, like at the interface, like just a smooth ride over who is that? Is that still them? Yeah. And do you guys monitor them to say, hey, you have a problem over here, you need to?
As far as, if we get the complaints, residents calling.
You generally get the complaints
Yeah, we'll
then,
get the
yeah.
complaints and we'll pass them on.
Yeah.
But technically, we're not, even if I have a project on that road, I'm not allowed to go within that
Yeah.
railroad right away.
Yeah,
So that's why, it's in addition to the actual crossing, you might see 30, 40 feet.
right,
That's in bad shape, but I can't go there. Can't
Right.
touch it.
We do any work in the railroad right away, the county actually has to pay CSX or the railroad company to bring out a flagger, like flagger for the trains.
I see.
It's kind of like
Sure,
flagging traffic, so.
yeah.
And it's frustrating because they can just cancel on the whim. And I have mills, paved, asphalt, everything's
Yeah,
ordered.
you got a pile of people waiting.
And they could just be like, oh, sorry, we don't have anyone to send out. And say, okay, try again tomorrow.
Didn't mean to take all the questions here, but do you follow any of the apps? Some of these driving apps report potholes and things like that. Do you follow those? And is that something that you guys, oh yeah, we got potholes on this road and this, or let's send the crew out or something like that? Or is that
We don't follow any apps. What we do,
No.
is we base our,
you have a phone call system?
we
I know.
call it
Yeah,
dispatch. People call it dispatch.
dispatch, that's
And we
what,
put
okay.
together a work order and we'll go out and take care of it within 24 to 48 hours.
We also have a nice fillable form on the county DOT website now, so if you don't want to call, you can provide a picture, hit submit, and we'll get an automatic email.
Oh,
So
nice.
we get a lot of those,
Okay.
to say the least.
Have you guys thought about,
Okay.
have you guys thought about doing any of the app based, like a lot of the, some cities around the country?
Yeah.
Not really.
Why's that?
I think what we have is working. I mean, we get claims for potholes often, but those claims more or less go to city streets, town roads, or New York State. Because we have our own patch truck and we go out there and we're pretty responsive when we find out. And when we're out there, we'll do the whole road.
Yeah.
We're not just saying, getting this one, we'll cover the whole area.
I noticed just years, I don't know what the status is now, but for years, they were painting the Bay Bridge. Is that still, that's not county, right? That wouldn't be a county project, that's state
No.
project, right?
State project, but we installed some lighting on that bridge and we had to do a little coordination.
I see.
Our lighting project was held up due to their painting project, but yes, that was a state.
That's okay. I was just, it took a while and I was like, okay, someone's retiring on this one. Go ahead.
I do have a question. So I see that you were changing all your metal halide with LED lights. Do you have a budget? Obviously, after you change to LED, your lighting budget may decrease, I would think, because it lasts longer. If there are any savings, are you going to use that savings to continue to increase where more lights are needed throughout the county, or that money goes back to the
For the electricity?
Yeah, well, even for the, I would think that the LED light, just the bulb itself probably lasts longer than the. So,
Yeah.
right, so I'm assuming you have a budget line item just for lighting. If, when you complete all your lighting, that budget will significantly decrease because you don't have to change it as often. Are you using the remaining of the budget to increase other areas within the county that may need additional lighting, or that money goes back to the capital or general funds?
We'd more or less balance our budget within ourselves. And I'm giving so much per year, and now that I don't have to give the money to lighting, I'd probably use it somewhere else, like catch basins or asphalt or something. We have huge needs and there's not enough money.
So the wattage of the LED fixtures is considerably less than the old high pressure sodium. But at the same time, we all know the RG&E rates are going way up this year. So we're not actually saving as much as you might think. But we're saving more compared to if we would have just left the old fixtures.
It's great that you're also reducing that light pollution. I mean, I know it's meant to be also, I mean, there are safety things, but also it's great that you're reducing.
I should have asked this years prior, but there's been more information about the color of the LED, especially above like 4,000 and 5,000 Kelvin, how it affects the environment, and like anything that should be in the 3,500 or lower, even 3,000, some of that range, just for the insects and plants and all that. But is there a thought process on maybe in the future trying to convert, trying to standardize on it? You're probably standardized on a 4,000 or something like that right now, but I was just wondering if we could look into just lowering that Kelvin temperature to like somewhere in the 3,000 or 3,500, something like that, just to help the environment. Anyway, that's a kind of the lighting today. You mentioned this, you operate the O'Rourke Bridge, and that's a state bridge. Do we, so the state pays for that? So they write a check every month or every, or are they out, like, is it a certain percentage or?
On the staff put together a bill.
Yeah.
And we look at all of our expenses and we look at all the maintenance costs that the bridge has had.
Yeah.
The bridge is old.
Yeah.
There's a lot of work. New York State DOTs actually has a project going on right now where they're going to rehabilitate it.
Oh.
So they have some experts coming in and they're asking our bridge operators, hey, what's this bridge need?
Right.
And we're working with them right now to put together the design plans for an upgrade of the bridge.
Is that gonna be shut down for a while? or
No.
Winter job?
Yeah, I mean, we gotta keep it open for the boats.
Right.
And then, do you know?
boats
I don't know offhand. That's a good question. I think any mechanical things will have to do when the shutdown between roughly December 15th and April 1st. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, winter, and then emergency vehicles will be an issue too.
Well, I'm envisioning it like the IBOB bridge. So the Coast Guard actually regulates when we can open and close it.
Okay, yeah.
So a lot of people are like, oh, why don't you just take the bridge out? Keep the bridge in all the time so we can go back and forth between between the two towns. And it's the Coast Guard operates it. We have no choice. I mean, if the Coast Guard had their way, that bridge wouldn't even be there. So we're fortunate we can at least have a bridge for as long as we do. I would think the same thing would apply with the O'Rourke Bridge. Because you have to provide safe passage, safe harbor for the boats on the lake.
Right.
It seems like you use the word maintenance, interchangeable with capital. So how do you determine when something is true maintenance versus something capital, which is funded? So if you're gonna fix a road, you're using capital investment, but you're using the maintenance language. So how do you draw the line of something that is truly maintenance versus is truly a capital investment that will depreciate in a different way?
Sure. I would say that the capital projects require a little bit more than just maintenance. It's maintenance, like the top course of asphalt's degrading, we need to rehabilitate it. But some of the bigger projects, while we're here, we know we have a drainage problem. We know we need a left turn lane or a right turn lane. We know we need a new signal. Something more bigger, more robust gets put in here, in CIP, as opposed to just a maintenance job, which is mainly what we get. Our $11 million I mentioned before, the CHIPS funding we get, that's where we just go out and do like oil and stone, microsurfacing, just kind of bring the top course of asphalt back to life.
It's more of a scope, or it's more of a amount, essentially the amount of per scope. So if you have a threshold, so everything after a certain amount goes to capital, or it's a certain scope. So they have to be, like you mentioned, changing something a little more robust, like you said. So I guess where is the demarcation? Or maybe there's none.
Yeah, I think you better slide on that.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's partly dictated by finance policies and finance law in New York State. So, and Tom is saying everything correct. I just want to add kind of the CIP perspective. Typical annual maintenance on a road is not necessarily a CIP project, but most roads don't need annual maintenance where they need to be mill and paved. That happens on longer term cycles. And so that is something that would fall into the CIP. And then there's also funding thresholds that we look at. And then if we're bonding for those projects, those funding thresholds need to align with the bonding cycle as well. So that goes back to and I apologize, the slides aren't up there, but it goes back to the cost of the projects. Most of DOT's projects are relatively high, so they fit into those higher thresholds that become a CIP.
Over 100,000 and over the 250.
Oh, that was okay.
Yeah.
So like, I think an example that might be helpful is you have to stripe a lot of roads, but you don't stripe every road every year. You stripe certain roads every year. And so therefore, that's why that can be a part of this. Is that in the operating budget, I believe? Correct. Yeah. So that is more of an operating side. Whereas when they do a physical project on the road, that becomes a capital project.
I will say, even though it's called highway preventive maintenance or bridge preventive maintenance, everything we're doing as part of those projects has a service life of over 10 years. So if we repave a road, we're not going back in 5 years and doing it again. Whereas like annual maintenance or filling potholes, that's all operating funds. So it's almost like the service life is how we differentiate between operating versus capital.
How is DOT, how's DOT being innovative when it prioritizes what's in the CIP? And talk a little bit about how your department is being even a state and national leader when you prioritize these projects when it comes to sort of mobility, safety, and infrastructure design.
That's, I mean,
Start.
That's the urban
Yeah.
planner asking you, I'm sorry.
Yeah. I'll start on this one. So as part of any highway project that has a traffic signal, we're not using the end pavement detection loops anymore, which is, a lot of people think they're the weight of the car, but it's like a
Oh, y'all
reverse
niggas
mechanism.
pay for them, they're expensive,
So-
those cameras expensive.
Yeah, so instead of those, we're using the cameras, which can also detect pedestrians, bicyclists, so it's all the active transportation users. And we're doing other things with our traffic signals as well, like Tom mentioned, rest in red, leading pedestrian intervals. So we're really prioritizing, there's a traffic engineering fund in here, which we use to buy signal controllers, cabinets, updated hardware. Because this county actually is one of the leading counties in the whole country for our traffic signal system. I don't know if you've ever been to the Regional Traffic Operations Center, but it's quite the grand building, still top of the line. So that's one of the big things is traffic signal technology.
It's interesting because I'm working on a project now in
Yeah.
Charlotte, and they are in Mecklenburg, in the city of Charlotte, DOT is pretty advanced, and they're like going back to loops instead of doing the cameras. 'Cause, you know, we're working on a project, we had to install traffic signals. So it's just, that's an interesting thing to see as it being innovative sort of here, and then you look at like a 2.5 million person MSA, and they're saying sort of we're going back to loop. So it's just curious. What other things?
warm mix asphalt we're using,
Okay.
we're not using the hot mix anymore. So it's one thing we're using to be a little bit more environmentally friendly.
When you guys look at projects and design these projects, are you guys, somebody's out to any design firms, or are you all this in-house? Like, what firms are we using? Are we using firms based here in Monroe County? Are we using some national leaders around transportation to help us think differently, sort of when we look at these CIP projects?
Local consultants.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a list of 15 of them, and they're all located, or they all have at least a satellite office in Monroe County.
You all have to use the talent here?
The federal aid
Yeah.
ones, we have to pick off the list.
Yeah,
For the
okay,
county
got
funded ones, we don't necessarily have to, but we typically
Yeah,
do.
there's a list called the LDSA list, and that's created by basically kind of like the TIP development committee, I guess you can say. So there's a list of firms that get on the list, and federal aid, you have to pick from those.
Okay.
A lot of them merged lately, or got bought out. They satellite offices now, here.
Put into the selection of consultants, having a local office, they get extra points for that. Having a local office, yeah.
We all know sometimes the talent though in local offices. Yeah, I get it. I get it.
Right. We know that.
I hire consultants every day. I get it. Yeah, I get it.
And we're fortunate, we have a lot of good consultants here. We are. And they have satellite offices, so.
Absolutely.
Nope.
Going off kind of the innovation question, just curious of how, do you always look at projects and see how they align with like the complete streets policy as well as the active transportation plans that the county has as well as other towns? Or what does that process look like?
It's more, we look at the condition of the road and when work is needed on it. And then we start planning, okay, this year we need to do some work, and then we'll start looking at, we'll reach out to the towns, do you want bike lanes, what else is going on? What else does this road need besides just maintenance, or sorry, rehabilitation? It's needed besides rehabilitation, because now's our chance to do it.
With every highway project we do, whether it's a capital project or like a CHIPS, like a maintenance project, we have a complete streets policy checklist. It's a little more condensed for a maintenance project because there's only so much we do within the scope. But yes, to answer your question, we are considering that for anything that's in this plan.
Just to follow up with that, I think planning has an active transportation plan. How have we been, how far along are we on that? Are we, 30% along, basically implementing what was planned, or
So,
and we may not know.
no,
off the top
I
of your
definitely
head,
cannot
but-
give you percentages.
Yeah.
But what I can tell you is that DOT is working on what's called the Active Transportation Implementation Plan. So our transportation plan was quite high level, aspirational in many ways. And so what we have and what they're working on is funding from the Genesee Transportation Council to boil that down to some more specific treatments for roads or ideas for roads that DOT is working on right now. That plan just got underway. So I think it's an 18-month process that we're planning on. Ishan is leading that with DOT. And so that will help us understand what we can actually do on certain roads and even potentially give them a typical protocol on certain types of roads. So instead of right now, they're ad hoc engineering any sort of changes that include bike lanes and things like that. That's quite costly and time consuming for DOT or their consultants. Their idea going to come up with a slate of ideas of what they will do in specific locations, have thresholds that will help them understand when those could be applied. And then those would be guidelines that they can use as they move forward. So it's the next step.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, the answer of 30% is we're not at 30%.
Yeah, you
but
just
when we
started.
get this project done, maybe we'll be at 30% because then we can facilitate the next changes.
Yeah.
And then, since our the active transportation plan first, and the county roads have the first bike lane, in Elmwood and Brighton and Rialto Town Line Road, and many other roads also, have the bike lanes. And I know the DOT has the list of projects they reach out to the towns. So there are progress.
Nice.
Have a very long list.
Is it well received by the towns or typically, or is it no? No.
It's different for shoulders, because
Yeah.
if you look at vehicle and traffic law, once you designated the bike lane, technically only bikes should use it.
Right.
And you get complaints about garbage, UPS,
For sure.
mail delivery. So most towns prefer just multi-use shoulder, the space is there. So, but they just consider that good enough.
One other thing that has come about from the active transportation plan is coordination between DOT, public safety, and planning. Together, we have worked on various projects. Public safety is leading the community traffic safety team, which is, and I'll let Director Tantillo and Christina jump in if they want. But that is an initiative that is the first of its kind in New York State, designed to solicit more information from residents, to be better engaged about road safety issues, not just maintenance issues, bad driver behavior, stuff like that. And then in addition to that, we in planning and DOT and public safety have collaborated on a federal grant that is just under $1 million that it was applied for a few years ago. We've struggled to get it underway because of federal changes, but we believe that's happening shortly. And so that will invest in a variety of things that Ishan can go into the specific details if you're interested. And then we have many others that I can't actually remember and list that public safety and planning and DOT are working on to the tune of another, I think, $500,000 or more, that are all initiatives to either improve roads or improve education related to the roads that we operate in Monroe County.
One of the pieces about the community traffic safety teams that bring the stakeholders together. So as mentioned, we've got planning, Monroe County DOT, New York State DOT, some citizen reps who've had some experience in a particular area, traffic safety, and the community portal that people can enter, right? Their concerns, what they're seeing out there, and then we can evaluate that. And then we decide who is best maybe to handle that. But it's one-stop shopping instead of, if you will, somebody calling maybe their local government only to be told, well, that's a state road or it's a county road. Then they get the answer directly of who's most appropriate to handle it. We're fortunate to have our law enforcement partners there because typically most of the complaints are, if you will, speeding or some type of traffic offense. And then they can collect that data and develop a strategy about how they might do some education or enforcement. And I don't want to speak for the traffic safety unit, although they're in public safety and we're very proud of them, but they will go out and do a number of community engagement activities, typically within the school systems, because that gives us a real captive audience with obviously younger drivers or perhaps young people who are walking and riding to school and things of that nature. And last 2025, first quarter or first 5 months, they reached over 4,000 individuals with presentations and opportunities to learn both as a pedestrian, a bicyclist, and as a young driver.
Wow. So just with all the electric bikes and things like that, it's good to reach out. You're still doing the driver ed presentations as well? Nice.
And we do get pothole submissions to that form that we forward on to DOT to your
That's
earlier
funny.
point. So people, of course, complain about that through that portal, and we make sure that and DOT has access to it, so they take a look at it and address it, especially when it's a safety issue.
So this is a public safety portal that's on the county website. Nice.
We can share it with the board via email afterwards.
Awesome.
So I think that's a great tool. When it comes to communication, how do you people know that we have a portal? Is there any type of way to bring it to the community that they could use these tools to communicate with you guys?
Can you answer that?
Well,
since you launched it?
I think I can. So the county executive, when this was announced, certainly supported it. So we had the initial media press release associated with it. When we respond to individuals, they get a letter so that they know this exists and to please share that. And every opportunity that we have to perpetuate that, I have a feeling the county executive will bring it up with the State of the County address because it's been so well received.
We also have shared it with our various transportation partners that we work with, Reconnect Rochester. And I know when we initially launched it, we had more responses than we expected in a very short period of time because we did get good, I think, press and information. But we do have in some of the funding streams I was talking about earlier, we have some additional funding to identify how we reach more communities for more specific initiatives, but it will allow us to identify more people.
You know, and Pat, if I may, one more thing I think to bring up, when you talk about the collaboration in the County of Monroe, that joint that grant for the safety village and how we're all partnering together where this can be a mobile unit. We go out to various sites instead of expecting people to come to us. We will go to them, especially where we see trends that require us to do some maybe additional education, information sharing, and be able to put that into place with an actual site where people can, people learn visually, right? In many ways they learn, but this is a good opportunity to put principle into practice.
Nice. Good moment. Everyone else good? Great. Well, thank you for coming in. Nice job, as usual. Our next item on the agenda is item 5, and it's instructions for the proposed 2027 through 2032 capital budget priority vote, which is the year 2027. So, actually, okay, here we go.
All right, Christian's bringing up there we go. So you previously saw this sheet. We handed it out last week, so you could have a little bit of time to maybe start taking a look at it and think about how it works. If Ishan hasn't sent this out to you, we will be sending it out to you. But this is just really a guide reminder on how to log onto the CIP app. We have a specific username for you and a password for new members. We sent those to you recently. And if anyone has trouble accessing, because most of you probably access this once a year and forget your password, please feel free to email us. We will happily change it for you. And so the whole goal here is for you to go on and essentially through a very typical kind of survey form that you would fill out through Google Forms or something else, you're able to go in there and enter your priorities. Ishan, can you scroll down for us? So when you log into the site, you get at least two options, maybe, and you'll see it has the capital improvement plan. It will have the current year. Priority votes will be the main area of the program that you can access. When you get in there, then we'll ask you to fill out that sheet, essentially the exact same thing online, and providing a 1 to 5, with 1 being the highest priority in your opinion and 5 being the lowest priority. I encourage you to, and Chairman Santos reminds us of this every year, don't just go 1s or 5s, even if you think everything is important, because if everything is a 1, nothing really is a 1. And so your scores matter, and tally those and present them to you at the next meeting. We often have, because there's 80 some projects and the numbers only range from 1 to 5, a lot of ties. And so I will come to you with a couple different scenarios on how we can maybe prioritize those ties. In the past, we've used things as additional grant funding, Maybe there could be other parameters that we could break in, but additional grant funding is generally the one this board has relied on as a way to kind of break that tie. And then once that's done, that is submitted with the capital improvement program. After you review it, after you recommend it, we will then publish that in the front page. This is what it looks like. It's of course very hard to see, but these were ranked last year by this board. And so these indicate that you thought these were the highest priorities for Monroe County to tackle for the 2026 budget year. We are fortunate as a large county, we don't have to make a ton of choices for the budget year, but in the event that we did, we have that list to work off of.
How often does that happen?
Not in my career here. Only since 2019 in Monroe County. I don't know if Jennifer and Joe can speak to if it's ever happened.
I've never seen it.
That's good to know.
COVID would be the closest that we,
Yeah.
came to that happening, but it didn't happen.
Good.
Right.
We
All right.
controlled things after the fact, after it got voted in.
Right.
And remember, one is spelled DES.
That's 3 letters. That's number 3.
So along those lines, if you're new, you haven't heard me say this, but you're on this board for a reason. You bring certain background, you bring certain experience, and that's how we want you to vote. So I assign, just as an example, I assign everything a 3, and then if it's getting money elsewhere, I bump it up 1, and then if it's public safety or some sort of safety issue, I bump it up again. I have a point system where I go through, but you do what you do. Okay. So, if you're coming from, I don't know, environmental background, then, vote with your heart, so that's why you're on this board. So, some people I know just, okay, we're getting money. Oh, those are all ones, those are looking down there. Right. Some of the people that were here previously, that's how they would vote. But, vote the way you think. You look at the descriptions that are in here. And the descriptions are great. But if you have questions on something, gosh, is that, how are they, for example, we had DOT here, and I should have asked the question for you, but bridges are rated on a system, right? There's a state number and there's a county number. Roads are rated, right? So those things you might see, I forget the number. One was 0 through 7, and one was like,
So
100 through,
the road projects and the ones that you asked about today, Lehigh Valley and Hawkins, do have the road rating in the description at the end.
Yeah.
So it's usually the last sentence of each description.
Right.
Not all of the road projects, but most of them.
Yeah.
So you can understand what the pavement scale score is. I believe that the current.
Lehigh was 50.3.
Yeah.
Right.
So that is out of 100 score. Right? So that is the deterioration level.
Clover's 87.2.
Which where I was going, he didn't answer that, but that's where I was going.
Right.
Clover had a higher score. That's why they were able to shift it a year, but that was a softball I was throwing.
And of course,
Didn't
that can
swing at
change.
it though.
If you had a rough winter and that road, for whatever reason, got more beat up than another, that score could, vault to the top.
Right. All right, so.
And the only thing I just want to add is that you can use the online system, the easiest way, in my opinion, and the easiest way for us, for sure. But if you're more comfortable filling this out on paper, putting your numbers in, and either scanning or emailing or taking a picture on your phone, please do that. We can accept it.
I have the print copy of the balance here.
That would be a drag getting pictures from somebody's phone.
It happened before, and we can make it work. It's not a big deal.
Deadline, Pat, you want those submitted?
Next week, the 18th is what we're waiting on. If you can get them to me at least by the end of that day, I can get them ready for the presentation at 3. The more online, the easier. It could even be later.
Yeah. So just running through the list, anyone have any questions on specific projects or anything while we're here? there anything that was like, I don't get this, what is this?
Thank you. Andy, mentioned Smith Street in the city.
Okay, and so they're in a new building and they need an elevator because it's gonna be a cool.
There's an exhibit.
Exhibit
First of all, two reasons. They of course attract a lot of election inspectors who work during elections, a significant amount of workforce, during that time of year. And then also there's going to be an exhibit about voting history, which we have a very strong
Yeah,
voting
yeah, yeah,
history in Monroe
definitely.
County. So
Yeah,
they want to highlight that.
nice. Any other questions on this list or for Pat on priority voting?
Oh, Chairman, one other thing I
Yeah.
want to mention is that I will present to you what you as a group collectively identified as a different county chairman mentioned me or indicated. We then go through what he calls the sniff test, and that is, does it make sense to everyone? Do you think that a project that is kind of low needs to rise to the top for various reasons? And so then we will have that discussion and we can adjust if needed.
That happens like every fourth year or so. The last time I remember it was the new water plant out on the east side. The water authority had, and that project came in near the bottom. And we all looked at it like, well, if this is voted near the bottom, what, isn't this important? It's like fresh water, drinking water. So we all decided to move it up, to a score, and we said, it's about, here. So they did that. So next week, look at the list. They're going to send you the answers, the results, prior to the meeting, hopefully, and then we can just spin through the list to make sure it makes sense. Good.
Actually, I'm good, since you just mentioned it, so I've always been a city resident. I've never lived not in the city, and to read that Lake Ontario was a primary source for the county for the water, I never knew that.
Well,
And I felt like a dummy for not knowing that, but is that?
Well, there's a tie, but the city water is right on Hemlock and Candidice. And part of Henrietta too. The east side of Henrietta is part of the city water. And then there are some ties between the two, but
yeah, there is a connection between the two, so that in the event that either those reservoirs were unable to be utilized or the Lake Ontario was unable to be utilized, they can reroute water from the Monroe County Water Authority to Rochester Water.
so we had an incident at Cobb's Hill,
Oh,
right?
yeah,
So,
no, yeah.
and that they shut that down. They isolated it and
You need a highlight.
was it at Highland?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So that's why you want redundancy.
This also, I mean, for me, this then leads to a much broader, that leads to like making sure the Great Lakes is, I mean, that becomes a much bigger, broader conversation.
Sure.
To really be thinking
Another
about.
board handles that.
No, 100%, but it's all, I mean, of course, it has to be integrated, right? Like there has to be thinking about what that looks like, because I had no idea for some reason, just never occurred to me.
Yeah. No, it's an interesting system. That all of them are interesting systems. This sea soap that we discussed last week, the water system, Shoremont, the east side, the city, it's, I mean, the cities is gravity.
Yeah.
Some, I don't know if they still have wood pipes or not, but it's, for a long time, it was, it's a great network. Any other questions for the ballot? Okay, hearing none, we'll go to other business. Any other business? I'm hearing nothing. So our next scheduled meeting is the 19th at 3 p.m. or earlier time. We will go through, let's see, we have an MCC presentation, right? That's it. We will go through the 6-year vote, right? We'll have any questions and then vote on this. Then we will go on the capital project, for 2027. We'll vote on that. All right. And then if there's another regular action, I guess, some hearing there maybe. So, and then if we run into a roadblock next week, we have the 26th on the calendar, but I try to get things done early. So, like to finish it up next week. So Any other, if there's no other comments, we'll go, I need a motion for adjournment. Thank you, Jennifer. Following in the footsteps of Robert, is there a second?
Second.
Who's that? Richard, thank you. All in favor? Have a great rest of the week.